Chapter 3. Jax fidgeted in his seat in the mission briefing room as pilots continued to filter in through the hatch. The tiered space was reminiscent of the outdoor amphitheaters back home, built so every pilot had a clear view of the speaker and the screen behind them. Cole, hotshot, Jax reminded himself, was carrying on animatedly with a pilot from Iron Rain that Jax only knew by sight. How Cole could get to know so many people on a personal level so quickly would always confound him.
You're joking.
Cole said animatedly, waving his hands in frustration.
The Ash Falcons don't stand a chance against the Storm Hounds. The Hounds are definitely going to the playoffs.
No way.
The other pilot replied just as emphatically.
Hale's been killing it all season. I'd be more than happy to put money on him and the Falcons wiping the floor with your Stormhounds.
Well then, put your money where your mouth is,
Cole said, holding his arms wide.
100 credits says the Ash Falcons don't make the playoffs.
You're on.
The other pilot replied and held out a hand.
Easy money,
Cole said as he shook it, then turned away to lean on the counter in front of them.
You hearing this, Jax?
Uh-huh.
Jax mumbled with a nod as he watched Reaper talking with one of the other squadron commanders down on the main floor. He was shaking his head in disapproval.
Jax, you good, bud?
Cole asked, nudging his elbow. Jax snapped out of it a bit and gave his friend a reassuring smile.
Yeah, just wondering what all the fuss is about. This looks like half the carrier's combat pilots in here.
Probably nothing. Another safety briefing or something.
Not with this many pilots.
Attention on deck!
The command was barked out from the main floor in a way that made everyone in the room instinctively jump to attention. Jax watched as two officers ducked through the hatch. He had never seen them before, but immediately knew who they had to be. The first carried himself with the easy authority of a veteran. Broad shoulders filled the hatchway, his dark blue flight suit marked with crisp insignia. Gray streaked his close-cropped hair, and his expression held the hard calm of someone long familiar with the weight of command. This had to be Commander Adrian Overlord Vaynar, the CAG, a man who seemed carved out of steel. Behind him was Commander Renee Marm Calder, the deputy CAG. She moved with clipped precision, her sandy blonde hair tied back in a no-nonsense knot. A hawk-like nose and level gaze gave her a severity that matched her reputation. Her eyes didn't flick restlessly. They measured, cataloged, placing each pilot in order. Every step was exact, the posture of someone who believed discipline wasn't just demanded, but lived.
At ease.
Vaynar said in a loud, confident voice, and the room settled as pilots found their places. Vaynar waited a few moments for the murmurs to die down, then stepped up to the center podium. The overhead lights dimmed, and the tactical display behind him flickered to life, a rotating projection of a star system with a pulsing red marker at its edge.
First off, I want to recognize Commander Rios and the 45th Recon. They've been running some long stints through hostile space, and thanks to their persistence, we have solid intel on the location of the pirates we've been dealing with.
A ripple of approval ran through the room in acknowledgement of the recon pilot's work. Commander Rios, seated in the front row, nodded in appreciation.
The 45th has been following the raiding parties we've been tangling with, and we're able to track them back here.
He pointed to the blinking marker on the display, which zoomed in to reveal a cluster of asteroids connected by a massive framework of space docks and structures. Hangar bays had been carved right into the rock, and a series of defensive turret emplacements covered the approach.
I give you the Pirate Stronghold. Designation, Jolly Roger.
He paused as a chuckle of appreciation ran through the room.
It's heavily fortified, but not invulnerable. And it's time we shut them down for good. Ships come and go from Jolly Roger, usually raiding parties. Expect 1 or 2 capital ships and several raiders, likely repurposed, like the ones we saw at Helix Station.
As he spoke, the display shifted to show a series of attack vectors.
The carrier group will come out of FTL at the outer edge of the belt. Minimum safe distance to cut down on reaction time. Destroyers Vigilant and Halberd will be flying screen against incoming fire and be available to cover our withdrawal if necessary.
He paused and leaned forward on the podium.
Let me make something clear, though. I have no intention of withdrawing until we've dealt out revenge for what they did to Fury and what they tried to do to us.
Grunts of agreement rose up from the pilots. Indicators appeared on the display.
Battlecruiser Bulwark will be anchored here for long-range fire support. Frigate Spectre will be tying into the point defense network here and broadcasting jamming over their comms. That should clear the lane for us.
He paused, grinning at them with a bloodthirsty smile.
Air wing operations will proceed in 3 waves. First wave. Iron Rain will spearhead the strike, saturating their outer defenses and clearing turrets. Unbroken and Grim Hawks will come in with them. Your job is to engage any defensive fighters.
Jax felt his pulse spike as Cole leaned over and whispered in his ear.
About time we got a real fight.
More markers appeared on the screen.
Second wave. Heavy squadrons. Skyhammers and Iron Guard will push through the gap and deliver the hammer. At this point, any remaining defenses should be identified, and you are to clean up with your heavy weapons.
He turned toward a specific grouping of pilots with a predatory smile that showed his teeth.
Third wave. Bomber Black Lances, you'll be tasked with hitting their launch bays and fuel stores, crippling their ability to sortie. Stormbreakers will help provide cover, but if Unbroken and Grimhawks have done their job, that should be fairly simple at this point. Make no mistake, these pirates will be cornered. They'll fight tooth and nail, so we'll hit them hard and we'll hit them fast. We break their teeth before they can sink them into anyone else.
He pointed to another area of the monitor where several markers and vectors appeared.
While the main force is coming in from the open, drawing out any defenders they have, our stealth elements, Silent Knife and the Night Fangs, will come in from this direction. This is the most likely escape vector for anyone trying to get away. I do not intend to let them.
There were more grunts and nods of approval from the gathered pilots.
Your squadron commanders will brief you on specifics for your individual wings. Know your runs, stick together, and when the dust clears, I promise there won't be a pirate left in this belt with the will to spit in our direction.
He let the words hang in the air, then nodded once.
Dismissed.
The room erupted into commotion as everyone started talking at once.
Here we go.
Cole said excitedly as he sprang from his seat and pulled his arm back. Jax raised his own hand in anticipation. Cole's hand slapped into his, and he was yanked to his feet. Jax couldn't help but grin broadly. His friend's excitement was contagious.
So how many kills you think you'll get, hot shot?
He teased.
Oh, a dozen, easy.
Cole smirked, tugging at a pair of imaginary suspenders. Jax laughed, the tightness in his chest loosening. Reaper's voice called from the end of the row.
317, let's move.
Jax followed Cole and the others toward the hatch, heart pounding with the promise of the fight to come. Jax pulled his flight helmet off the rack and tucked it under his shoulder. His heart hammered double time, and he forced himself to calm down. This was nothing he hadn't trained for. He was an excellent pilot, and today was the day he was going to really show everyone what he was capable of.
Ready to do this?
Cole asked as he finished sealing up the boots of his flight suit.
Born ready.
Jax responded with a confidence he wished he felt. The two made their way down the hall to the squadron ready room. Other than a couple more stragglers coming behind them, the rest of the squadron was already gathered, standing around in small groups talking quietly. It was a stark contrast to the celebration that had taken place after their last action. The room was staggeringly sober. Reaper stepped to the front of the room, standing in front of the squadron flag and the shrine of dead pilots who had come before them, his helmet tucked under one arm.
Listen up.
The quiet chatter cut off almost immediately. His eyes swept the room, lingering on each pilot in turn.
Today isn't about glory. Stick with your wingman. Trust your training. That's what gets you through when things go sideways. Above all, complete the mission. Do your job, watch each other's backs, and bring this squadron home. To the black!
Unbroken! The room buzzed with that shared energy as pilots filed out into the hall. Jax adjusted his grip on his gear. He sensed someone beside him and looked up to find Mira standing next to him. Her dark eyes flicked to the hatch and then back to him. The corners of her mouth curved into a grin.
Try not to get yourself shot up out there.
She said, her voice laced with teasing confidence.
I'd hate to have to carry your sorry hide home.
Jax's mind raced for a clever reply, but all he could manage was,
good luck.
Her smile widened, amused at his fumbling, before she turned and slipped through the hatch.
Come on.
Cole groaned, rolling his eyes at Jax as he ducked through the hatch himself.
What?
How long are you gonna drag your feet before you tell that girl how you feel?
You...
It's obvious, Bud.
Cole said in exasperation.
And it's just as obvious she feels the same way.
Shut up!
Jax said as he keyed the door that opened out onto the launch deck. Cole had to shout over the sudden noise of the busy deck.
I'm just saying, man, we could literally die any day. Tell the girl how you feel before it's too late.
Got it. Point tank it.
Jax said, shoving his friend away as he turned toward his striker. Except, it wasn't his striker. Something was off. Then his eyes registered the difference. Stenciled just below the cockpit was the call sign, Blackjack.
Tanaka?
He called out to the chief, who held up a finger to the crewman he was talking to off to one side.
Yeah, Jax?
I think you pulled the wrong plane.
Jax said, gesturing at the lettering.
He didn't.
A voice announced from behind him, and Jax turned to see Torch and Brick standing there.
You were due a call sign. Now you've got one.
Jax gestured at the words again.
Something to remind you to watch what you're gambling with.
Torch said pointedly. Brick chimed in.
Or to at least make sure, if you're gonna gamble, to be the house.
Jax must have looked as confused as he felt because Brick laughed.
The house always wins, kid.
Get checked in. We'll be dropping out of FTL soon.
She started walking away, but Brick held something out in his hand.
You'll be needing this, too.
Jax took the object from him and turned it over to realize it was a Velcro name patch with the new call sign on it. Before he could say anything, Brick reached out and ripped the old one with the call sign Blue 3 off Jax's flight suit.
I don't even gamble. How...
Jax grumbled as he put it on.
Hey, it could be worse.
Brick grinned mischievously.
How did you get the call sign Brick anyway?
Jax asked, suddenly curious.
Let's just say, not all of us were at the top of our class at flight school.
Jax grinned in realization.
Gotcha.
Brick held up a fist and Jax pounded it with his own knuckles.
See you on the other side, kid.
Jax pulled on his helmet and started working through his pre-flight checks as he wondered just how old Brick was. He didn't seem all that older than himself. Once he had finished all his checks and Tanaka had given his own approval, Jax completed his check-in with the tower and settled back in his seat to wait. He looked across the launch bay at all the fighters lined up and ready to go. He knew that as soon as the first wave had finished launching, additional fighters would be brought up and thrown out just as fast as the Resolute and its crew could belt them out. Space was about to get a whole lot less empty.
All pilots stand by for launch. Translation from FTL in 60 seconds.
The voice from Flight Ops called over the comm. Jax forced himself to take deep breaths as his heart tried to beat faster. He stared fixedly out the front of his plane at the rows and rows of fighters lined up for launch. There were 7 rows in front of him, and 4 more behind him. 4 fighters per row.
30 seconds.
And very soon, all 48 of them would be tearing through space to engage the enemy as additional fighters were hooked up to the catapults and launched.
10, 9, 8, 7.
He tightened his grip on the
6,
stick and throttled his
5,
engines up.
4, 3, 2, 1.
He felt his stomach clench slightly as the Resolute dropped out of FTL. Rows of fighters vanished in streaks of silver and flashing guidance lights as the catapults fired, each launch slamming the deck with a metallic boom that reverberated through Jax's bones. The rows ahead of him thinned with frightening speed. 3, 2, 1. Then his turn came. His spine hit the seat. His vision tunneled gray at the edges as his striker was fired like a round from a railgun, shooting out of the Resolute's bow into a battlefield already on fire. He yanked the stick. The striker rolled, belly glittering in the light of 1,000 tracer rounds. Cole flashed beside him, perfectly in step. Ahead, the space around Task Force 12 was a storm of chaos. The Vigilant and Halberd were vomiting autocannon fire into incoming ordnance. Solid lines of light hammered across the void as their point defense guns shredded missiles into clouds of molten debris. Bulwark's batteries unleashed volleys of missiles that arced wide before angling viciously toward the pirate capital ships. The drive engines from the missiles looked like a swarm of flaming insects. Jack swallowed hard. This wasn't like The Sims. This wasn't even like their first skirmish. This was war. He exhaled and arched his striker into another loop as he followed Torch and Brick through their next maneuver, Cole still clinging to him. His senses were bombarded with activity. His display was a mass of chaos as the Resolute fed him data. IFF markers stacked on top of each other until his vision blurred. Comms buzzed with warnings, overlapping voices, and proximity alarms. He silenced the alarms with a flick, cursed himself for not expecting this, then cut comms to flight only and narrowed his sensor cone to the immediate space around him. The chaos faded as the battle snapped into focus, and he let his mind settle into its groove, just like he had done 1,000 times in the Academy. Iron Rain's Corsairs were in formation on his left, and the rest of Unbroken spread out above and below him to cover their flank. The enemy capital ships were attempting to engage, but Jax put them out of his mind. Other than making sure not to maneuver into any of their fields of fire, they were not his problem. He was far more aware of the enemy fighters forming up ahead of them. The pirates tightened into strike wedges, engines flaring bright as they accelerated to meet them. Jack settled into familiar cold clarity as his training took over.
Blue flight, prepare to engage.
Torch ordered.
Acknowledged.
Head-to-head crossovers only gave a split-second engagement window to kill or be killed, and they could not afford to take the risk. The distance indicator on his display turned from red to green as the squadron entered into firing range. In the span of a single heartbeat, he fired his ship-to-ship missiles and deployed countermeasures. The countermeasures burst like white static blossoms around him, filling space with interference. His missiles shot forward in a tight spread. He didn't need to look to know Cole's were alongside his. Then Jax threw his striker into the maneuver they drilled 1,000 times. He spun the fighter in a violent half-roll and dove at a 90-degree angle. Cole stayed in formation. Above them, Torch and Brick peeled upward in a mirrored split as Unbroken executed their crossover engagement. Concealed in the spreading cloud of countermeasures, red and black flights shot past the incoming pirates. As the pirates attempted to regain their bearings, blue and gold flights completed their gut-wrenching turn and flip that brought them in behind the pirate fighters as they passed their squad mates. It was a risky maneuver, and Jax tried not to think about the IFF signals that disappeared off his display as autocannon and missile fire found targets. He didn't have time to try to identify which signals were fighters and which were ECM. He was already completing his maneuver, and the enemy fighters were coming into his kill zone. Jax's firing brackets snapped green. He squeezed the trigger. His cannons roared, shaking the cockpit. Tracer rounds tore through the first pirate ship, tearing it apart in a cloud of shrapnel and exploding fuel tanks. Before the fighter's wingman could react, Jax had already come to bear and put a stream of fire straight through their cockpit. A perfect burst. The fighter kept flying on its trajectory, engines spitting plasma, oblivious to the absence of its pilot's control.
Woo!
Cole howled as he swept past, guns blazing at another target.
Hot shot, 30 degrees down.
Jax barked. Jax launched a missile at a pair of pirates. They broke into a textbook evasion spiral, exactly what he wanted. Cole was waiting, and his autocannon shredded the lead fighter. The wingman jerked away, trying to avoid the same fate, but he was boxed in and instead jerked straight back into the path of Jax's missile. The missile found its target, and a fireball erupted, lighting the battlefield with harsh orange. Jax twisted his ship around again, ensuring he never stayed on a single trajectory too long to avoid being an easy target. And Cole pulled his own fighter back into formation. His brain suddenly registered Torch and Brick's comms.
Cut 45 by 30.
Torch was calling out.
He's still on me.
Brick yelled. Jax's blood ran cold, and he checked his display, seeing an enemy fighter on Brick's tail, Torch trying to get a shot on it. He twisted his fighter around in their direction and slammed the throttle forward.
Brick, Blackjack, we're on our way.
He spun his fighter on the fuselage axis, preparing to swoop down on Brick's tail. The enemy fighter was nearly in range, and he gritted his teeth as he willed more speed into his striker. The range marker turned green. Jax fired, but the pirate fired first. Brick's striker disintegrated in a burst of flame and spinning metal. Glowing debris spiraled away as atmosphere cooked off the torn hull. Jax's heart and stomach tried to change places within him. He screamed in rage and raw anguish, even as his own fire tore the pirate apart. Torch's voice cut through.
Cut that comm traffic. Save it for later.
Jax forced his breathing under control, shoved everything down. He had to. Torch was right. He registered a pair of enemy fighters going after the Corsairs that were beginning their run on the enemy defenses.
On me, hotshot.
He said hoarsely, jerking the stick hard, muscles straining as he forced his striker around.
We're not done yet.
He swallowed a lump in his throat and forced himself not to think about Brick. Unbroken's primary mission was protecting Iron Rain's Corsairs. He twisted his fighter in a series of rolls and brought it back into formation as they started their run on the defensive turrets.